radiodiferente.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Los Cabos Home and Life Ask Dana radio show. Today is our episode number 75. And our guest today is Romina Ruiz Cárdenas. Welcome, Romina.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Romina is Federal Commercial Notary Public number 9.
That's correct.
And she has a huge background, and we will be having a very interesting topic today, is incorporating a Mexican business for foreigners. I know we have had a lot of questions about this, so Romina's here to answer all your questions. Right now, we're going live through Facebook Live. You also are listening in to us through www.radiodiferente.com. So we would like to know where you're listening from and hear all your questions and any ideas that you would like to share with us. And I would like to thank our sponsors, Cabo Brew, Solaria Los Cabos, and RE Mexico Real Estate. Solaria Los Cabos, they're beautiful condos situated in El Tesal. We are there from Monday through Sunday, and if you want to come and check out the show home and see some of the properties, they're going to be really nice. Also, we have this new road that has been built as we speak, and it will be by the mid of August through Home Depot all the way up. So in 2 minutes, you're there, and it's beautiful condos with beautiful, beautiful buildings. In fact, today we're getting an offer on one, so we're very happy. We have had a very good response with those. Okay, also, last week we had Tony Martinez with us as a guest. He is going to have this event. It's called Fearless Los Cabos, and he was very kind to leave some of the tickets for our audience. And today we're going to announce the people that have won the tickets. So that's Sofia Arismendi, Azul Violeta Ocampo, Speidi Flores, Indira Sain, y Pedro Camberos. Muchísimas gracias por participar con nosotros. Okay, from English to Spanish. Thank you so much for participating with us. And we just posted this on Facebook and tag you on that post. So get in contact with us, and you can comment to pick up your tickets at Solaria or here in Radio Diferente. I would like to say hello and thank you to Jonas Castro, that he is in controls, making this transmission possible as always. And we are at the studio in Cabos San Lucas, downtown, in a very cloudy day, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it was like that. And we had a little bit of rain, so we're starting it into that season too. Okay, so Romina, about this topic, I mean, I would like to understand more about it. And so if somebody wants to come to Mexico as a foreigner and open a business, let's say, like you were mentioning before we got on the air, like a real estate company, property management, or vacation
rental, fishing, any kind of company or any kind of activity, commercial activity. Many times foreigners come to Cabo and just love this beautiful Cabo and decide that there is a beautiful place to start a business, or they see a lot of opportunities. So they have no idea how to start. And our Mexican process, it's very different to what they are using in United States or Canada or Europe or any other place. So our job as commercial notary publics or as attorneys is to educate our clients and let them know what they need to know in order to decide whether it's worthwhile to open a business in Mexico. Because once you open a business, it is not like you can decide, oh, it's not working, I will close it up tomorrow, and then that's the end of the story. It's a very long process to close a business. So that's the topic today.
Yes.
How to incorporate a Mexican entity, and what kind of activities are restrained to foreigners.
Okay. Before we get into all of that subject, because we're going to go like from the beginning and how it works, we have a big foreign community here in Los Cabos, and a lot of people that come here mention that this is a gold mine. There's so many activities you can do here and make such good living and also enjoy. We have people coming from Southern California that when they mention they could be jammed up in the freeway for hours, just driving back and forward to their home, and then they come here and they live here, so it's really good. And I see a lot of opportunities, like from my clients. That I have a lot of clients that they're boat owners, and like for people that just work on the boats, like specialists, there's a big field for that, because a lot of those boats have to take them up to San Diego. That's our closest.
Yes.
And so they can get, so listen up, because this is going to be a very good topic. So how does it start?
How does it start? First, you have to make the decision of what kind of business line you're going to go into. Is it real estate, property management, fishing, tourism, transportation? Because depending on what activity you want to start in Mexico, it depends the percentage of foreign investment that you're allowed to have as for foreign investment law. In other words, as a foreigner, you're not allowed to do everything. There are certain limits. So let's start for the one that are 100% foreign investment, which means that they don't have any regulation, and you can be 100% owner as a foreign investor as long as you have at minimum 2 partners. Okay. So the most common the most common businesses that I have advised, it will be real estate, property management, concierge services, tourism services. That kind are not restrained, which means that it can be 100% foreign owned. However, in the tourism industry, you have the transportation. In transportation, I mean those people that have carriers that pick up people at the airport, that are taking from the hotel to the sites where they are going to do the activities. That is a no-no for foreigners.
Okay, that's very interesting.
100% foreign Mexican ownership.
For the taxi drivers.
For the taxis, for the not only the taxi cab drivers, but any kind of transportation by land, it's 100% for Mexican ownership.
They're kind of like a sindicato, a union?
Not really. This is because of the foreign investment law, and also because of the SET, the transportation law that says that those activities are only for Mexicans. Mexicans, not even if, for example, a foreigner has a Mexican entity, a Mexican business, which is 100% Mexican, but as long as there is partnership on that Mexican entity, it's a no. So it has to be like 100% Mexican with no any kind of percentage for foreign investors. So people may think, I'm going to have my limousine and I'm going to have these quality luxury cars brought to Mexico because we don't have that many. Well, it's not open for foreigners as of today.
You learn something every day. I have no clue about that. That's what's so cool about this show, because you get to see, learn a lot of things.
Okay, so I'm not saying that it will not be open someday, because again, the laws in Mexico, they can be changed, are not like in stone. But transportation, since many years ago, since the foreign investment law, it has always been 100% Mexican ownership. That's for transportation.
Okay, and that would be another topic.
And that will be another topic that I will be happy to speak to you about.
Oh, I would like that. I think our audience would like to be more knowledgeable about all of that, because there's a lot of comments about the transportadoras and all that stuff. Okay, so
now another kind of tourism activity that is very popular in Cabo, or at least in the Baja Sur, it's the sport fishing activity.
Yes.
Like you say, those people who had the boat, the yacht, they fell in love with Cabo, and they think, well, I'm paying a slip. What about if I charter my boat so I can pay my slip, my employee, and just make even? I don't care about making so much money, but at least to have the expenses, for the month.
Because it's very expensive.
Because it's very expensive, the slip and the fuel and the mate and the captain, all of those fees. And they think, I will just have my boat and get to charter it. It's not that simple. Okay. It's restrained activity as well. Okay, so maritime business or maritime sport fishing or charter companies are 49-51. 51 Mexican ownership, 49 foreign investment.
What about if a foreigner gets his Mexican passport so that he becomes a
citizen?
A citizen.
That's Mexican. So it's not like Mexican born. It can be Mexican by naturalization, but right now it's 51 Mexican ownership and 49 foreign investment.
Okay.
Now, what some people do, because sometimes it's hard to live in one person, 51% control of your company. because that will be a majority stockholder or shareholders. So they come to me and I say, what can I do? I want to give my boat to, for the chartering business. I want to have this business, but I don't want to give one person full control of 51 because then they can make all the decisions. This 51 doesn't mean that it has to be in one person. So I always advise my clients, well, have 2 Mexicans or 3 Mexicans. Break it as much as you can. So when the time for partners meeting or shareholders meeting come, you don't have one person holding the majority other than you.
Okay.
So that will be some kind of the strategies that I recommend, like you are 49% owner and break the other 51 into as many pieces as you can. Okay, because for the corporate Mexican law, we have the minority rights, and minority rights is 33%. So whoever owns 33% of a company can make some kind of decisions that even though maybe the assembly is not okay with them. So there are certain corporate laws issues that are not as simple just having, oh, well, I'm the majority owner, so I can control that. Not really, not necessarily, because the law provides for the minority rights, which is 33%.
Okay.
Okay.
Very interesting.
So to open a Mexican maritime business, the first thing you need to know is that you will only hold 49% as an investor, and you can have partners for the other 51, and then it comes all the permits that you need to charter the boat.
Yeah, you have to go to Capitanía de Puerto, and they ask for a lot. People think that, Romina, do you agree? A lot of people think that I'm just going to come to Mexico and there's no laws, there's no things. And they're surprised because, I mean, people have this idea that this is like the Old West, but actually there's things that are very organized.
Yes.
And when we had a boat, that's what I understood, because Capitanía de Puerto, they're not like no nonsense. You have to have everything.
Everything. It's a long list of requirements. Like the first requirement a boat must have is a temporary importation. So it's like when you come to another country, you need to have like a residency permit or a visa or something. So this temporary importation is for those boats that are not here just for the fishing tournament, that are not here just for the fun of it, but are going to stay in Mexico. So the first thing is to import the boat for 10 years.
Okay.
So that would be the first requirement that the port captain will ask. And also, you have to have all the requirements for safety, like the inspection safety. Make sure that you have all the life jackets, all the communication, the radios, that you have the insurances for the boat. Not just the whole insurance to cover for the boat, but third-party liability, passenger insurance, crew insurance. So port captain makes sure that everybody on board is taken care of if something would happen while being on the ocean.
And you know what? This program is really helpful too, because like I helped some friends that came and they wanted to charter a boat, and when we showed them the prices, I said, this is not my business, but I know from reputation very good boats, and they were like, why it's so expensive? Well, this is one of the reasons why it's so expensive.
You have that again, like the third party liability is not something happens to your boat or your vessel. It's what if you hurt another vessel, or if you hurt the marina installations while trying to navigate or back up or use the boat. So port captain makes sure that you have all the insurance that you need, that your boat complies with these safety inspections. And then we have a new permit, and I say new because back in the old days when I started in 1995 to do licenses for chartering boats and permits, it wasn't a requirement, but now it is. And this is the CONAMP permit.
Okay, CONAMP.
And this is the permit for the reserve area, because now all of the Los Cabos Arch area and where the sea lions colony is reserve. So if you want to even just drive around just to look at the arch and take a picture, you need a permit from CONAM, which is the reserve area department of Mexico.
Would be like ecologic.
It's an ecological permit that authorizes all the, whether it's your sightseeing or your whale watching or your spur fishing. If you want to go anywhere near the arch, you need this permit. Okay? And the Navy, the Marines, are the one that enforce this. So if you see the Navy boat approaching to the one that you're sightseeing or using, it's because they want to make sure that that boat has the permit. And if you don't have the permit, you will be kindly asked to move out of that area because that is a reserved area.
Okay.
So that permit in the old days wasn't a thing, now it is. And it takes about 6 or 7 months to get, actually more, because this reserve area board, they meet once every 6 months. So you need to make sure that you file the paperwork in time so that while you get all the other documentation for the charter permit, you got this CONAM permit taken care of. Okay. And it's a whole list of requirements that I'm not going to get into that because that's not the topic.
That's another show.
But that's another show. But yes, that will be another permit that you will require if you want to charter a boat.
Well, there's a lot of things that go on, right? The safety, insurance, you have to, like, it's not very likely to get into an accident. But I remember there, what was it, like 5 years ago, probably 5 years ago, a beautiful boat, the Wild Hooker, I think was one of the most beautiful fishing yachts here in Cabo. And it got hit by a whale.
Wow.
And just the side window, don't quote me on this, but I remember it was like $125,000 just to fix it. So
it can be expensive.
And then if they had a charter, I don't know if they charter, but if they had people on board, then also insurance is needed.
Right, all kinds of insurance. So let's go back to the setting up of the company. So
Yes.
I decided what company I want to have. I meet the requirements for the percentage of investment that I'm allowed to have. Now, what do I need to do? I need to go to a federal notary public, which in Spanish is corredor público, or you can go to a notary public, un notario público, and you decide to incorporate your business. So you provide all the information of the partners or partners. You decide if it's going to be a limited liability company or it's going to be like a corporation like SA or what kind of company, because each company has certain requirements. So like I call the stock company is if you want to call investors, if you want to open later for future to grow. And I call the SDRL like the family business. As you know, we're friends, it's a small business, it's not going to grow that much in partners, not in money. In money, we expect all the companies to be huge. I'm talking about in partners. And then you go for the simpler rules of an SDRL, which is a limited liability company, or if you go into stock corporation, which is an SA, because they have different rules for partners meetings, share meetings, recordation, books, and everything is different.
So if somebody that is not very familiar with our Mexican laws and they go like, which one do I choose?
I will ask them what are their intentions for future growth, what kind of activity they want to make, what are their future plans, and then I can recommend and I explain, okay, if you go this way, this will be the operation rules. And if you go the stock, the SA, these are the operation rules. It's not that one is more complicated than the other one, it's just that it's more paperwork.
And then could they change if they go to
SA or to SDRL?
They can change in the future.
Every change, once you incorporate a Mexican business, you can make any change. You can change the name, you can change the corporate object, you can revoke the managers, appoint new managers, extend your corporate object, change your address, your capital stock. You can do any changes as long as you have a partners meeting.
Okay.
And that partners meeting is recorded and is registered at the public registry of commerce.
Okay, it has to. You do that too?
We do that too.
And do they do that at your office? Or
yes.
Do you have to go physically and be present as a witness?
For the partners meeting, yes. We ask the clients, we advise them in how to prepare the notice, because the notice has certain requirements. If a notice is not duly made, anyone can say that this meeting wasn't legal, and they can void every resolution that you ever took. And just because you didn't comply with the timing or with the topics or with the notices. So it's a very important thing now with the changes. For example, an SA requires that all your notices have to be published in the official system of the economy department. So we were used to have the notices by email, personal delivery of a newspaper, as required by the corporate law. Now with the changes in 2015, the SAs are required to publish these notices. If these notices are not published in this specific system, it's like the meeting is not valid. And that is very important because I have seen that they comply with all the requirements except that, and then the meeting is like is voided. So, it's a shame.
So here in Los Cabos, where would that be published? Like
it's
online?
Not in Los Cabos. It's a federal. It's a federal system in Mexico City. It's in Mexico City's control. Es called el Sistema de Publicaciones Mercantiles.
Okay.
So that means that whoever has the electronic signature, the fiel, is the one that is authorized to make these publications in the system. So it's like entering a website with your specific password. You attach the notice as an attachment, and then it's published. And that is how things are done. It's not like in the old days that you will take a newspaper or you will go personally deliver that. Not for the SA. For the SDRL, which are the limited liability companies, is an option.
Okay.
So that's one of the few differences there.
Very, very excellent. So you're a federal commercial notary public. Could you explain to our audience what is the function?
Okay. Well, the commercial notary public is an attorney at law that is authorized by the Mexican government through the economy department to give affidavit of all mercantile acts, like incorporating a business, doing an affidavit, getting a partners meeting, ratifying signatures. So we are here to assist the business person, the entities, the commercial entities to make business. So we got appointed for life, but of course we can always lose that appointment if we do something wrong. You know, we have certain prohibitions by law that if we don't comply with them, the Mexican government can take away our license, as a matter of saying, you know. And for example, in my practice, I have a lot of clients who come to me as a corredor, and I do a lot of contracts for them and corporations and partners meeting and assist them. And then they ask me if I can represent them. Hey, I need you to go to Port Captains and fight for me because they are not going to give me this permit. And at that point, I tell them, I cannot be your attorney. I am an attorney at law,
Yes.
but I cannot represent you because I have a legal prohibition as a corredor to have representation of anyone. So I'm impartial, I'm neutral. And sometimes that's hard for my client to understand because they do everything with me. They process all their legal paperwork. I assist them with all their legal matters. But when it comes time for me to try to defend them, that's when I have to say I can't, because that's a legal prohibition.
And because they trust you, they just want to have contact only with you.
Yes, so they want me to be the one that files the paperwork, that goes with them to the authorities, and I say, I can't do that.
Of
I
course.
can't do that because it's one of the prohibitions that I have, and if I do that, I can lose my license, and I don't want to do that.
No, you
So,
don't.
Of course not.
Of course not. But would you recommend them to, or suggest somebody that could help
Oh,
them?
yes. At that point, I can. I actually don't like to recommend attorneys or accountants because sometimes they are good for you when they assist you.
Very
but
smart.
then when you recommend them, it may not be the same service that they provide you. So I have the few times I have there to recommend someone. Then I have a client coming to me and saying the person you recommended didn't respond my emails, didn't reply to me, doesn't answer the phone, and so like they think that I'm to blame. I'm responsible, you know,
Well,
and I prefer not to.
I understand because I have hashtag Astana, and I get a lot of messages and people asking me from the most simple things like where do I get my hair done, all the way like I have this legal issue, and I've learned I have to be so careful.
That's true.
and just set the things how they are. Romina, you have an amazing background, and I would really would like to our audience to know about that. You're president of the Corredores Públicos.
Yes, I'm the president of the State College for Corredores Públicos. I am the vice president for the Women National Association of Corredores Públicos. I am the treasurer of the National Board of Corredores Públicos, amongst other things.
Guys, that is very impressive. I have never met anybody that has like it, and I see you so active, and you're in a conference, and I see your beautiful pictures that you might be in the Mayan Riviera, and that you come here. You're a busybody.
Yeah, I love it, and you know, and we don't get paid for this, by the way.
Oh, very important. So
we don't
please
get
share.
we don't get any payment. We don't even get our plane tickets or hotel reservations or meals or taxis. Anything. It's just out of the willingness to serve. And to me is I like to be in these places because I meet a lot of people. I make a lot of friends other places in Mexico. So if I have a client who needs something in Cancun, I don't have to go myself. I just call my friend in Cancun, my friend Corredor Público. I say, hey, I have a client who needs something in Cancun. Can you help me? And that way I can assist my clients all nationwide without moving from here. So to me, that's what I like about having all these positions. Now that I get paid is the one satisfaction of doing this work and all the connections that you get at the end, And
I love how you say, because first of all, you're spreading your network, and it's just something like very key that you said is about the service. Last week we had this wonderful guy, Tony Martinez. I really enjoyed his conversation. And last week I was also talking about this with the president of the Los Cabos Children's Foundation. Service. When you give service to your clients, not because I'm just going to give something back from you, things change. It's kind of like a magic that happens, and that's why you're very successful. And that's one of the things that I have picked up from people that are very successful, is that they have that sense of service.
Yes. Like I'd say, right now there are a lot of people who we do the same thing. The same services we for the same. I'll say services, but. And right now, you compete with the service that you give to the client. Not so much with the prices or the variety of things that you offer, but how is your service related to the clients, And I like to have very close contact. To me, it's not like, if you want to talk to me, you talk to me. It's not like you have to go through all these 4 or 5 people before you even call me, or that you don't have access to my telephone, or that I'm never there to see you, Whenever a client wants to see me, they see me. Whenever they want to talk to me, they talk to me. So most of the corredores públicos, we say we are a petite office, because the client always meets with you. He always sees you. He doesn't see your assistant, your associate. So the corredores, we have these all nationwide, that we have personal, direct service with the client at all times. So that's something that the client really likes, because they always see you.
And makes comfortable, because like when you were talking about all of this, doing the businesses, the corporations, and all, can seem very overwhelming. But if you go step by step and lead them through the way, then they understand. And so what you understand makes you feel more comfortable.
Right. And yes, that's true. So, for example, before I even signed the actual corporate papers for a client, I met with him at least 2 times. I spent over 3 hours just explaining him or them all the different obligations that they have once they have this business. So it's like when you get married, it's like, are you sure you want to do this? Because once you do it, it's there. So among these obligations, like we decided, like we discussed here, is you have what kind of business, you have you ask the government for permit of the name, how your business is going to be named.
Okay, so how does that work?
Because that's a whole different scenario. And I have a client who sent me 10 or 15 different names, and none of them were approved.
So if somebody else has that name, then they can't.
Yes. So I asked my clients to send me a list of 5 names. I have to enter these names in a database that is nationwide. So I enter this name. It takes the government about 2 days to let me know if it's used, if there is a similar name, or if it's approved. Right now, anything that has Baja, Cabo, Mexico, Los Cabos, any of that generic name is not being authorized anymore. So in the past, you will file this application in La Paz. It was in paper. It will take them about 5 or 6 days to approve it. Now it's nationwide by the internet. You have to be checking if it's rejected or not until one name is approved. So once you have this name approved, then you go to the notary public or the corredor público, and then you say, okay, this is my authorized name, which actually we process that name for them. These are who the partners are going to be, and this is my corporate object. Then we make the draft for the meeting, for the corporate papers. Once you are incorporated, your first obligation is to have that document registered in the Public Registry of Commerce. Okay, so that's one of the obligations you have. Then the second obligation is to get your tax ID number, which we call RFC. RFC number for the company.
So when you give the invoices when you get paid, and
so that with this tax ID, any expense or any income that you receive is recorded to the federal government. It's like our Mexican Treasury Department, the SAT. Hacienda. Most people call it as Hacienda. So now we have the Public Records Office registration. We have the tax ID number. Then you can open your bank accounts, because now to open a bank account, if you don't have these 2 things, then they will not open the bank account for you.
Okay, now that you get into the bank account, because this is very interesting, if they're a foreigner, what immigration document they have to have?
Okay. If one thing is being a partner of a corporation, and you don't need an immigration document for that, but if you're going to be part of the management of the corporation, then you're no longer a tourist, and then you're required to have a working FM3.
Okay.
And that is very important because as long as you don't have that authorization from the Mexican government, you cannot sign papers, you cannot sign contracts. It's like you're the manager or you're the administrator or you're the president, but you're in hold until immigration authorizes you that specific activity.
So you have foreigners that they're part of the business, but they're just the investors,
and they don't have power of attorneys, or they are not the managers.
Or somebody said, like, I would like to be more hands-on. That would be a way to say it, or how?
In these years, I find 50-50. You know, I have the partners who really want to be on the management part, and they want to have all the powers and abilities, and they want to be able to actually run and operate the business. But then I have ones that say, no, I'm bringing the money, and I have this person who's going to be doing the work for me. He's going to be responsible for Hacienda, for employees, for everything. I don't want any responsibility. He's the general manager. So that person gets all the powers and abilities.
And everything is written up in the contracts. Who's who,
Yes.
what is their obligations. And then that person, that foreigner, in any case that he decides, he can take that person
Of course.
out of that.
Out of the business, out of the, let's say, when you incorporate, you appoint the general manager, Juan Perez. But a year later, Juan Perez is not doing a good job.
Hi, Juanito.
I'm sorry if there is a Juan Perez there. It was not personal.
No,
so
no,
this Juan is not doing a good job, or the foreigner decides that now he wants to be full-time in Cabo and he wants to be part of his company and be working. And so he revokes this appointment and he appoints himself, again, through a partners meeting. So every change that you do to the corporate documentation has to be through a partners meeting.
Okay, everything recorded.
Everything goes to the partners meeting, is notarized or legalized, then it's taken to the public records office. Why? Because it's public. So for someone to know what's going on, what changes there is, the corporate life, it's there in public records office. So if it's not registered, let's say a meeting took place, it was notarized, but it was never taken to the public records office. It does not mean that it's illegal. It just means that it doesn't have effects for third parties until you record it. It's still legal for the partners. Okay. But if you're going to try to make, I was appointed general manager in this meeting and therefore I'm authorized to sign this lease, well, it's not registered in public records office, so it doesn't have effects for third parties.
Okay.
Okay.
But you make all this a lot easier for everybody, right?
Of course. we offer the whole package. You know, when someone comes to my office, it's like I was telling one of my friends, my objective or my goal is that every client who enters my office returns over and over and over. So, in other words, becomes my permanent client forever. So because if it's not for one translation, it's for an appraisal, it's for a legal advising, it's for a partners meeting, it's for a registration, it's for a permit. So I just like to have clients for many, many years.
And you do. Because for a foreigner here, it's the same happens with me. That people recommend you because they trust you. And it's really good because when you're coming from another country and you're here in Mexico, first of all, you want to enjoy the lifestyle, the relaxed atmosphere, like have fun too, because we play hard, but we also work hard.
Work hard, yes.
Right? But if you have somebody that will be just helping you out and with a phone call,
yes,
that is really
something. You know, it's very common for my client used to scan me. I got this document by email. What does it mean? Okay, it's just a receipt or it's just a notice. So that kind of having someone that it's there, you know, and helps you to understand the documentation, the process. Now, and I like to do that. I love my work. I love my job, and I really enjoy it. And to me, it's great.
And it shows. And yeah, you're very hands-on, and you're very involved with all your clients and everything. So it's the whole life, the whole package. You have here the whole package.
But we haven't finished with the obligations yet.
Okay,
there is more to come.
Okay, so just let me say hi to the people that are watching. Jesus Valderas, we love you. Elizabeth Lopez Salas. Elizabeth, she's my intern. I love her. She is such a cool girl. She's right now in Solaria. She's
selling that condo.
Yes, no, she's so smart, and she will be coming with me on the radio. Jonas was the other day giving her some pointers, so it's going to be good. Tono Andere, saludos a Romina, es una profesional brillante. So it says hello to Romina. She's a brilliant professional. Estela Rivera, Laura Gómez. Un gusto verte y escucharte, Romina. It's a pleasure to see you and listen to you, Romina.
Gracias, Laura. Un saludo.
Aaron López, un saludo a nuestro amigo que está ahí en el patio. Eloísa Álvarez, mi partner. ¿Cómo estás, Eloísa? Eloísa ahorita está en Turquía disfrutando la vida. Wow. Te extrañamos mucho, amiga. Pau Aramburo, Héctor Salgado Domínguez y Rick Haas, que yo creo que está en La Paz. Elizabeth López puso un corazón. Yeah, we love you.
Mucho gusto. Thank you for all those nice messages.
Okay, so we haven't
finished yet.
Yes.
So let's just start a summary. So we have the name authorized, we have the corporate paper signed by the notary or the commercial notary public, we have the tax ID number, and then we have the registration on the public records office, and we have our bank accounts. Well, if you have foreigners on the corporation, like this case, you need to notify the Foreign Investment Department within 40 days that you incorporate. If you don't do this, it's a penalty. So this is this registration, okay, that we offer our clients. Whenever we set up a company, I know all the obligations they have, and I offer them to do for them, all of them, to register in the Public Records Office, to register in the Foreign Investment Department, to assist them with their appointment with the SAT, so that all they have to do is just show themselves whenever they have the appointment. And now, if it's a maritime business, you also have to, you also need to register the company in the National Maritime Registry. Otherwise, you will not get a charter permit, or you will not be able to sign a lease agreement without that registration.
What happens when somebody wants to put like a bar, a restaurant? The same thing?
Bar or restaurants, it's 100% open for foreigners. So you can have as many foreigners as you want, but all the processes is the same. You do not have the maritime registry, but other than that, you need to have all the same obligations.
What about alcohol permit? Because I know those are not very easy to get.
Those are not very easy to get because they are controlled by the city hall, and they decide who gets them and who doesn't. Of course, if you comply with the requirements, then you can always fight and say, hey, this is the list of requirements, why aren't you giving the permit to me? You know, and those kinds of things. I know they're expensive, and I also know that some people get them through the beer company. Mm-hmm. You know, if you buy everything with the Pacifico or with the Corona or all the companies, and I'm sorry for the advertisement there.
No, we can do that. On our show, we can do that, no worries.
So they assist them. They assist the client to get these licenses. I don't handle city hall licenses anymore. That's another of the requirements you need to have. You also need to have the finanzas registration, and you also need to have the local license registration to operate a business.
Okay, finanzas, that is?
Finanzas, that is the State Department of Finances. And you need to record the company because you get the registration, you get an ID from them. So whenever you make a payment to the city hall or to the government of the Baja, it will be automatically as CFDI, which is the digital invoice. So in other words, before you get registered into the Public Records Office, I advise my clients to go to get the RFC, then immediately go to Finanzas and get their registration. That way, when the company gets back to the point to be registered in the Public Records Office, they already have these registrations. Otherwise, they will not get an invoice, and that expense will not be deductible for them. So here we go again. It's tax ID number, Finanzas, Public Records Office, and then you get the Maritime Registry. If you're a maritime company, you get the Foreign Investment Registry if you have foreign investors in the company, and then you go to the corporate books that they are required by law. Any Mexican corporation is required to have a shareholders book and a partners meeting book, and those are the first things that Hacienda is going to ask when you get an audit. So you need those books because by law you're required to have a meeting every year between January and April of every year.
Okay.
And most people don't know that, and so they spend 5, 6, 7 years without a corporation, a partners meeting, and then my job is to make sure that they have all these meetings in order.
And also, like, do you give them notices? Like, you guys need to have your meeting
Yeah,
by this time,
I
so
invite them. I
schedule.
say, hey, by the way, it's April or May. Are you ready for your partners meeting? Do you need assistance in preparing those meetings? That kind of things.
Although there's a lot of people that are so organized, so
And the accountants, they are doing an excellent job because they not only take the monthly accounting, but they also are more now like an advisors too. So they remind their clients, hey, you haven't had a partners meeting. Hey, by the way, you need to do this. And I know a lot of accounting firms that they even assist them with the publications of this system that they don't know. So accountants are being very service-oriented now, and not only do the records of the company, the bookkeeping, but they also are doing some more advising, which is great. And that brings us to another obligation that you need to have. And people always ask me, why do I need a certified public accountant? Because in Mexico, the law changes every month or every week. And for you to be able to file your taxes, the system is all in Spanish. So if you're a foreigner who does not understand the language, it's going to be hard to access this, fill all the blanks, and even though you may not report any income, it's zero, you have to report it, you have to declare it. And tax returns now are every month. Before it was every quarter, now it's every month. So yes, you need a Mexican public accountant to assist you with your records because there are so many things that change every month that you never know. One month something is deductible, the other month it changed because it didn't comply with this. Now everything is digital. Now you need to file between the 17th of each month, otherwise you get penalized. So all of these things, so I always recommend, yes, hire yourself a certified public accountant that assists you with your bookkeeping or your accounting. Because it's not just bookkeeping, it's more than that, and they have to be involved with the fiscal changes that are very common.
you want to be on top of those things. Are so important. You really do not want to have an issue that somebody comes and, what is the name?
The Hacienda?
Yeah, no, Hacienda, but it was the name that they come and they check your files?
The audit?
Yeah, audit.
An audit, yes. Nobody wants an audit, not even if your books are clean, because Hacienda will always find something.
They're very good.
It's crazy. I had an audit many years ago, and they spent 3 months in my office going through all my records. They couldn't find anything because everything was so organized and it was good. So these auditors went back to their boss, and they say, we finished the audit, we didn't find anything. And then their boss said, no way, nobody's that clean. So you go back, and you find something.
So what happened?
So they went back another month, and finally they saw a receipt. It was a transaction that I helped my mom to make a deposit for a friend. So I used my bank account to deposit 700 pesos to a friend of hers. And in the deposit slip, I put a non-deductible, I put all the explanations, but they say, you're not allowed to deposit money to somebody else that is not related to your business. So they penalized me for those 700 pesos because they couldn't find anything other than that. So, yeah, in my experience, yes, Hacienda, whenever they audit you, it's going to find something.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I learned now. I don't do favors. And now when somebody asks, hey, can you transfer this for me? Can I pay with your credit card because mine expired or something? I say, it's not that I don't want to help you, it's that I can't. Because my credit card now, all the charges with credit cards are audited as well. So every expense that you make, every expense that you make in your credit card has to match at the end of the year with the income you receive or you declare. If Hacienda adds all the income that you declare and all the expenses that you had, including your credit and debit cards, and they don't add, it's a penalty. So they went all the way to the credit cards as well. So I don't use my credit card other than for my personal uses.
You know what? I think we need a lot of education on finance and how to keep track of our stuff, because just every day, just going to work and trying to get things done and all of that, then you add up all of this work, and then you don't want to be in trouble, because then stress must be Up to the roof.
Up to the roof, yes. I know, like myself, a lot of closing agents as well. They manage the third-party accounts. You know, I don't know if you have heard that. You know, I receive money from clients that I pay their property taxes, that I pay their annual trust fees. So it's not an income for me. It's an income I receive in a special account that as soon as I receive the money, I go and pay the bank
And then you
or
have
the
a
property
receipt.
tax. But now the law changed, and as of June 30th, which is last month, any income that I receive in that third-party account, even though it's in behalf of a client, if the payment that I'm making, I don't get a factura, a CFDI, Hacienda says is my income. So that is really concern. I mean, it's a big concern because a lot of people who does property management, they pay the beer and they pay the maid and they pay all these utilities. And if you don't have the CFDI, it's an income for you, no matter what.
CFDI.
CFDI is the electronic digital factura or invoice.
Okay.
That it has a little square that has the tax ID number of the person who is getting the money. Now, a lot of banks, you go and pay your annual trust fee and they just give you a receipt.
That's
Payment
right.
for the annual trust 2019, 2020. Now I have to demand or really be very demanding to the bank. I say, I don't want a receipt. I need a CFDI because I'm making this payment.
Okay,
So
I
all
need
these
to write this
changes
down.
just came very recently with the fiscal changes that were published 1 or 2 months ago. So as of June 30th, whoever manages money from other people, like property managers, especially closing agents, notary publics that are making payments in behalf of other clients, we need to make sure that we follow those rules and have those receipts in order. Otherwise, no matter if we did spend the money, Hacienda says it's your income.
Okay. This is a question that fits into this subject, is that when I'm asking a factura on behalf of a client, they said, okay, but they don't have that RFC number. So it's just a generic, does that work?
Yes, the miscellaneous, the changes in the fiscal law published this year, what code you need to use for foreigners or person who does not have a tax ID number.
It doesn't have to go through my tax ID number.
No, because if you use your tax ID is like your expense.
Okay, because what I do is that I ask all the information, and first of all I write exactly the address that like it is on the CFE bill. The CFE is our electric bill, and that is it's an important document to have because that's a proof of residence. That's correct. That's your address.
That's correct.
And so I put that like the zip code and everything, and then I ask for that factura with a generic.
For the generic. So yes, and actually they have one for individuals and one for corporations. So also they have a CURP. Sometimes they ask for the CURP, the CURP, which is the sole population code number. Some people ask for that. There's also a generic CURP, and it is one for women and one for men. And all of this is published in these miscellaneous laws that I have to check every day because there are changes almost every other week.
Oh, okay. So that's one of your activities during the day.
Yeah.
One of your multiple activities.
Yeah, one of my multiple activities is that I have to start my day by reviewing the official Gazette of the Federation to see all of the changes in these 284 laws that we have in Mexico, to see which one of them change and what are the changes, especially the one that I relate more to, which is corporate, mercantile, business, financings, maritime, commerce code, fiscal. So all of these changes, because you need to know what's going on so you can properly advise your clients what to do. So yeah, that's one of the few things I do during the day.
That's one of the few things from all the things you do. And this is just a tip that I learned from you, and I was very appreciative because you saved me a lot of time. Maybe it doesn't have to do anything with the subject, but when you guys are sending us in like scanned documents for your deeds or your fideicomiso or whatever, just do the proper scan like it is. Because when you're in the computer, like you're like...
Yes, you're trying to go backwards reading. So.
And that takes a lot of time. So that was, after you told me that, that's one of the things I asked my clients. I said, like, please take the time and send me a proper... Because it takes a lot of your time. Yes. And it's very stressful. Like you're reading all the little print, and then you're trying to figure it out and match everything, so you get all your information from your tax ID number and the names of the person,
names of persons,
and the
meets
price
and bounds, and the price,
and the price that it was recorded, how much it was, the exchange rate at that time. Does that come there?
If it's yes, actually in the new deeds, I will say that 10 years back from now, yes, they have the exchange rate there. In the past, no, but the newer one, yes, I do.
Yes. And you know what? We should do another show about, for a lot of people that are starting to work in real estate, how to read a deed.
Oh, yes, that's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
That's very interesting.
I remember when I started, that's one of the first things they taught me. Like, there you go, read the whole thing.
Yeah, sometimes you have 40, 90 pages, and I can just review it in 10 minutes because I know what to look for. You know, I know the classes that it has to have. I know the specifics to look for. So yes, when I have a spare time, I will be happy to read the entire document, you know, but when the time is of essence and client needs a response right then, you cannot read the 80 pages. You know, you have to go through the main points.
But also, like, when I'm doing a closing, I like to go through the whole deed, especially when they're foreigners and it's their first time purchasing in Mexico. So you go, so this is what it says because everything's in Spanish, and this is what it says.
Oh, of course.
So
when my clients sign a closing document, I am personally there in all of my closings, all of them, and I explain them the entire document. If it takes me 2 hours, 3 hours, I just make sure that they really know what they are signing. So I will not translate word by word, but I will go clause by clause or article by article and explain them what this means and what this means, what questions they have. So because yes, it is important. It's important to know all your obligations, especially first timers. But I'm talking when somebody sends me a document to review for taxes or to see who has the right to sign, instead of reading the 80 pages, I just read the places that I know that I have to look for.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
That was a little commercial. Sorry, I kind of like shifted that way, but that's also something that we encounter every day in real estate closings and all. You were mentioning something about closings that a third party holds the funds. Do they act like an escrow company?
Not like an escrow. For example, when me not as a corredor público, but as a closing agent. I send the estimate to the client, and this estimate of expenses is not only for my fees. It has the appraisal fees, government fees, certificate of no liens, notary fees, public records office, acquisition tax. So the client sends the money to my account, which I call my third-party account. So every time I need to make a payment, I take money from that account. Oh, pay the government fees for the appraisal, 500 pesos. Oh, pay the trust fees for the authorization to proceed the transactions, $565. So I take the money from that account. So it's not like an escrow account because I'm not holding the money to be paid to the seller. I'm getting the money from the buyer for the closing fees. And this is the money that I'm talking that now with the changes, we have to make sure that we don't have a factura, a CFDI, not just a receipt, a factura. Otherwise, if I make a payment from this account that I don't have a factura for, the government says it's my income. No matter if the check went out or the payment was out or the transfer was made, and I can prove, hey, these $460 were for certain bank, and here is the receipt from the bank, and I transferred it to the bank account. Where is the CFDI? Oh, I didn't get it. Well, it's your income. So you're taxable 34% on that money.
34%.
So yes, it's something very important. And it just came brand new.
Do not miss that. That is absolutely, absolutely. Oh my God, there's so many details. We're almost coming to the end of our show. We have 8 more minutes, so we're going to start to wrap it up because there's a lot of information. If any guys take advantage that Romina's here at the show and send us your questions, because I know that we have some also real estate agents online right now. I'm looking at that. But there's so many details.
So many details, like 1 hour is not enough. One of the things that any Mexican company with foreigners have to do, no matter if you do real estate, fishing, restaurant, whatever activity, if you buy land in Mexico, you acquire fee simple because you're a Mexican corporation, you're considered a Mexican regardless of the foreign investment percentage that you have. So when you purchase land, you have to do a notice to the Foreign Affairs Department. It's called un aviso de adquisición de bienes en zona restringida. If you do not do this notice, when this corporation sells to a foreigner, the bank trust is going to, the bank institution is going to ask for this notice. And it also has a penalty if you don't file in time. It's just a commercial, like you said, but it's something related to Mexican entities having foreign investment. This doesn't apply for Mexican 100% foreign companies. It applies for corporations with foreign investment acquiring land in the restrained area.
Well,
Okay.
no, this is amazing information. You are full of information and knowledge, and we really appreciate that, because this is one of the purposes that when we made this radio show, Los Cabos Women Live, is to bring all the information. When I was going through for the licensing to become a realtor, there's a lot of things that I already knew, because from 25 years, you kind of pick a couple of things.
Right, yeah. After 25 years, sure.
But then you're getting a lot of refresh ideas and training and law changes in Mexico. So for us as a realtor, you have to be on top of everything. A lot of people think that we just put a sign up and post, and that's it.
And that's it.
This is all the things that we need to know and bring to our clients. If not, know the right person that can help them and direct them, so there's no problems and everything smooth. Because sometimes I think knowledge gives you power.
Right.
And gives you a lot of peace of mind.
Yes. Yes, and once the setting up of a company for me is not even stressful, because I do it every day.
So
and
you
for
have the
me,
practice.
It's a practice. So for a foreigner, a client can be like, oh, this is so much paper, oh, it's so much applications. And for me, it's like, vroom, it goes very smooth. So my job is to make it easy for the client who is trying to open a business in Mexico, and not to think, oh, this is a horror story, this is impossible. No, it is very possible. You just have to know the right steps.
And to make a very clear point is that if you do every step and you follow up with what you need to do, then you won't have any problems.
That's correct.
And then, because sometimes I do hear some stories, oh, it's because Mexico is so difficult and this happened in Mexico. Well, let's go into depth and see what happened in individual situation. Okay, well, you missed this and you missed that and stuff like that. And I was talking to some buyers, and I was mentioning to them. This is when I have my buyers in front of me. I try to give them as much information, and also I said about closing cost. And they said, well, you should do our closing, so we don't want to pay that money.
Extra.
You encounter people different opinions and all that stuff, but it's not that easy,
it's not
right?
That easy. It's
Especially
not that easy.
if you're getting that money to pay the acquisition tax and everything, and then you have to get that factura. If not, it's considered.
And then you have to make a report to the WIF, which is the Financial Intelligence Agency.
Oh my God!
That's another report that you have to do when you handle third-party accounts.
Oh, that's right. Because our business is a very vulnerable activity. Like right now, we have to do the know your clients.
Know your clients. And it's know your client for the agent, know your client for the notary, know your client for the bank, know your client for the closing agent. And if in addition of being a closing agent, you handle money from a third party, that's another notice with a different application and a different requirements. So it's, whenever they say, oh, I can do the closing, I'd say, great. Go ahead, because once you do it, you will appreciate the work of the closing agents.
Very wise words.
Once you do it,
Very wise words. I had somebody that said, another agent, I will do the closing. We were so stressed. Everybody was so stressed. So I don't recommend it. Okay, guys. So we're almost 2 minutes. Jonas, tell me 2 minutes for close to end our show. Romina, how do people find you?
How they find me? Right now, currently my webpage is in construction, so it's not active, but my email is very easy. It's romina@rominaruiz.com, which is my name and last name together. And I'm in downtown Cabo San Lucas. Very easy to get there.
But also, because I Googled you, and your name just boom.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then you can see all her curriculum and all of the activities. You're simply amazing. And it's always a pleasure to have your show. You provide so much knowledge to our clients. And guys, please share this with other realtors. This would be very good, and with your clients. So, we're coming to the end.
Thank you for the invitation. I always love to talk to you and see you, and I also see your show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always
and my pleasure to share whatever I can share with your audience and with you and with your clients. My pleasure, really.
Thank you. Okay, guys, so I'm Dana Jimenez Lurenberger for Los Cabos Women Live, and see you on Thursday. Ay, qué bonito se fue. Es que eres una enciclopedia, mujer. ¡Qué rápido!